is Roger Payne. I've been living in Lausanne since 2001, full time, but I've known Lausanne for a lot longer than that. First came here in the early 80s, maybe even the late 70s, can't remember exactly now.
What brought you?
Well, initially I came to Lausanne when I was an aspirant guide and a very sort of enthusiastic, bouncing off the walls alpinist, and it was the place to come to. It was a real sense of a meeting place, a community here, and I had the opportunity to do some work for the International School of Mountaineering, which was founded here in Lausanne.
Okay, that's a good intro. God, I wish I hadn't gotten.
Just went on a roll. It was perfect last night.
Yeah. You should keep your camera with you.
Yeah.
But I think what I was saying was how remarkable Lausanne is as a place. It seems to have a disproportionate place in the mountaineering world. It's of course there's fabulous views here and beautiful mountains, but it's not like Chamonix with Mont Blanc. It's not like Grindelwald with the Eiger. It's not like Zermatt with the Matterhorn. So it hasn't got an iconic mountain right on its doorstep that many tourists come to see. But it's somehow been a real special place for adventure travellers and certainly for elite alpinists and some key figures like Leighton Cord, John Harlin II, Dougal Haston, Peter Boardman, and so many of their friends have spent time here and made their plans to make some remarkable climbs on the famous peaks of the Alps. But I've found Lausanne to be a place where they could relax, rest, enjoy being part of a community, and make their plans for those peaks.
Good.
It's in Switzerland that have this characteristic, but I can remember when I first came to the Alps as a young alpinist, hitching and then in clapped out vehicles, and you kind of held your breath as you travelled through Switzerland because everything seemed so costly and regulated. The only free things was, well, I think it still is actually, 5 minutes free parking at Geneva Airport and wasp stings. Everything else costs money. So you kind of get this sense of it's special time, and then you come to Lausanne, and there's a bit more space, and there's a bit of accommodation of alternative lifestyle a bit. So you can leave your vehicle in the quarry car park. You can feel as if you don't have to rush on quite so. And I'm sure there are other places around the Alps and in Switzerland that are like that, but Lausanne was the first place I found where you felt you could stop for a moment and you could relax, and you didn't have to worry about spending every franc, that you could just take your time a little here. The characteristics of Switzerland are they're rather special, mixing Italian culture, French culture, German culture, and it can take a little while to appreciate the expressions of friendship in the different cultures. I've got some good friends who are from the German-speaking part of Switzerland, and they can somehow seem less open and warm in the way that the French-speaking parts can, but they are being open and warm. I've got some guiding chaps I know in Zermatt, and when they say to you, "Don't go that way, go this way, that's the way down," they're being really friendly. It doesn't feel like they're being really friendly at the time. It feels like they're kind of shouting at you a bit, but that's them being friendly. But you hear other people come to Lausanne, having travelled in the rest of Switzerland, say, "Wow, I can suddenly calm down and relax." People are saying hello to me in the street, and there's a real sense of you can be who you want to be here, and people are friendly, open, and welcoming.
Oh, I guess just repeat what you just said.
Yeah,
this is how these work. You've done this before.
Sure, I have.
So.
Yeah. This part of the Alps, because it's on the edge of the Alpine Arc, has been popular with early explorers. So back in Victorian times, when it took so much longer to travel to Zermatt or to Grindelwald, leaders of the day, like people like Tom Longstaff, Geoffrey Winthrop Young, Sorry about this. I've now gone off the boil a bit, but I'll pick it up again. Um, Mallory. So there were people like Winthrop Young, Mallory, Longstaff. They came to these places as some of their first alpine experiences. They came to towns like or villages like Les Annes and Le Diablerets when they were literally just one hotel villages, and they spoke with local people, spoke with the hunters, and some of their first ascents were peaks like Le Diableret just on the other side of the valley. So this area has been influential in the thinking of those early explorers. It formed their attitudes and the ways that they went on to approach other mountains with simplicity and humility, and did all their great explorations in the Himalayas.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Suddenly, and also walking, of course, going out to the hills with other people, and you can have a natural conversation. You can tell a story. You don't have to get to a punchline because you're enjoying travelling, walking through the mountains. You can exchange a point of view, think about it, and then pick it up again. And I think it's sad that we seem to have somehow lost some of those storytelling skills, and it's always a pleasure to hear someone who has that great capacity to give the potted history of somewhere like Les Annes in a couple of stories about characters and people that they met and events that happened.
Yeah.
The bar stool, which had a tremendous split in it, and it used to be a competition to hand jam into the bar stool, and then lift this incredibly heavy, it was a solid block of from a tree trunk, and it was fractured with a split, and we used to find it great fun to hand jam in it and then lift it up. And of course, as it fell off, it would strip the skin off the back of your hand, so people would be wandering around with the backs of their hands missing, but the great pleasure of knowing that they'd jammed the Club Vagabond bar stool.
How much time did you spend at the Club Vagabond?
Well, for a period of years, I was a seasonal visitor here. I didn't spend my entire alpine summer just in Les Annes. I mean, that's one of the things that the great thing about guiding work is that you can move about different areas, work with different groups, and you have lots of variety and lots of change. But coming to Les Annes and spending time at the Club Vagabond was an essential. Obviously, going to Chamonix was an essential as well, but somehow in that era at that time, and for a few generations of alpinists, then Les Annes was occupied the same status as going to Chamonix, to come here and spend time, meet people, get inspired, do some guiding work, drink a few beers, make some climbing plans. It was an essential part of the alpine summer.
Any other good stories that come to mind? Any good?
None that I could repeat. That guidebook to Canton Vaud, which is, I don't know, it's 20 years old. It's a softback thing, and there's a section on Les Annes and an advert for the Club Vagabond, which is so 1960s speak. It talks about a swinging scene in inverted commas. It's a kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. But how did it do it? How did it get on the travel calendar like that? It was the era of the overland trip. The buses from London Victoria filling up of young people searching for adventure, going overland to Africa. And as they passed through Switzerland, their overnight stop was Les Annes. And I mean, obviously it was a great thing for the young men of Les Annes to be experiencing all these strange hippie women passing through, and vice versa for the young women to be discovering these strange hippie men passing through. But however it did it, I have no idea, but it obviously bred a certain culture here.
Yeah.
Ask where you're from, and I said, well, I'm from London originally, but living in Les Annes. They say, oh, Les Annes, yeah, I learnt to ski at the Club Med. In fact, I met my wife there, or at the Club Vag. It's so many people. It doesn't matter where you go. Everyone's got a little story of how they've either been at the Club Vag or skied at Club Med or skied here and met influential people that have changed the shape of their lives or the direction of their lives.
A lot of people got married. A lot of marriages
Yeah.
came out of the Vagabond
Yeah.
Club, and
Yeah.
most of them are still surviving.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, must be something in the air.
Hey, the guy that painted the mural
Uh-huh.
in the club.
Oh yes. Yeah.
He was here last summer with his
Uh-huh.
wife, his
Okay.
Dutch wife, who we met
Okay.
at the Club Vagabond
Yeah.
in 1968.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
He was riding across Europe on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess all those things, like the Lausanne American School. It must have had an open mind to accept that. Mr. Ott Senior coming here with that idea. The pop festivals. It must have had an open mind to the idea that whatever it was, 85, 90,000 people could turn up and sit on the field down by the Bottom Sports Centre. This is a reflection of the open society, and I think that's one of the things that contributes to the special nature of Lausanne, and somehow survives over time, and it is one of the things that people relate to when they come here.
now that,
It's a building which, you'd have thought that it's called the Club Vagabond, and it's almost crying out for a club to actually be formed of people with happy memories of Lausanne and time spent there, and to create a proper members club, and for them to acquire it, and for them to use it like a London club. That there are rooms available, and that you just when you're in Switzerland or passing through or short vacation, you just bowl up and you use it.
like a university club.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
kind
like
of
the
concept.
Harvard Club.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there'd be plenty of applicants to join.
Yeah. There's no. You and your wife are here, and you don't live anywhere else. This is your home.
Correct. Yeah. Lausanne's our permanent residence. We don't have any plans to either, stay or leave. It's just kind of suits us, convenient place at the moment, and it's hard to imagine somewhere that would suit us better because we have such good access to other parts of the Alps. Close to very good airports as well for travel to the rest of the world. So, what could be better, really? It's difficult to try and quantify. I mean, one of the reasons for the interest that there is because it's hard to define. And so putting it in a nutshell is almost a contradiction in terms. If we could explain Lausanne and its special characteristics so easily, then it perhaps wouldn't be so fascinating.